Hey again, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It's been a while, I know, and I have a couple of things to talk about. As I have mentioned previously and many times before, I try not to come here and just blather and tell you something just to put something up on the channel. But today, some things have been happening that make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to try to put them together. Some of the other folks that I watch, some of the guys that I respect and admire have talked about some issues, some ideas that I had previously not thought about before until today as I was watching them too. So anyway, today we're going to talk about three things. We're still going to talk about narcissism, and that's one, but the other two is a word called liminality, and the other one is synchronicity. Now, synchronicity, I think that a lot of people are familiar with when things just seem to happen obviously in time, synchro or synchronicity, or in a timing that is maybe even odd or more. How would you put it? I should have probably looked up the definition of these words before I begin to speak about it. But synchronicity, when coincidence, if you will, but more than one coincidence, sometimes many in a row, which I believe is a kind of a crack in in our relative, how would I put this? In our relative reality. I don't like to use those two words together, but in our reality, it shows us that sometimes there are things that are happening around us that are sometimes beyond our understanding. Now, the last couple of times that I came to you, I was talking about some things that were beyond narcissism because it had a lot to do with my history and what's happened. And of course, I got some smart-ass answers like, well, being an atheist, you know, even by definition, I would also be by the same definition, I would also be an atheist. So, but, you know, the smug, nonsense, shitty little comments. So I thought, well, maybe I just want to talk about this. And you know who you are. Anyway, I don't know, what is it about atheists and vegetarians or vegans? They always have to tell you that they are, I don't know what it is. They always have to tell you that they're somehow that's just their character. I don't know. They identify as being an atheist or vegetarian. I don't know. I don't care if you are. I'm just saying, even by definition, I don't believe, obviously, as I've told you, in the Abrahamic religions, none of them. I think it's all bullshit. But anyway, my point is, and I hope that's not off-putting to you, that you find value in what I say, that maybe your God is speaking through me to you. Okay, so we can go with that for just a minute. So anyway, so back to the synchronicity and the liminality. So synchronicity, as I'm looking at it, seems to have a correlation with spirituality. And I noticed that the further I've gotten away from the narcopaths, the more synchronistic things happened around me, not just to me. And I've got people who can verify this. It's uncanny. It's more than just coincidence. It can't be. The factors are too high. You know, the 1 in a million, these things, it just happens. And so with that being said, something that causes these things to happen is this other word called liminality. And it's kind of liminal is, I think the original term was really actually meant the space under a door. It's like a threshold. And sometimes when two ideas that don't necessarily match up, there's this kind of an area called liminality where things kind of break down. There's a breakdown of an old pattern. And this old pattern makes it possible for these new circumstances to come about when you cross that threshold. And sometimes it can be really hard times. It can be very difficult things that you may have had happen to you that can cause these things to happen. And one of them is being around a narcopath too. I mean, maybe this is the silver lining to being around a narcopath, is that it does test our spirituality. Notice I'm saying spirituality. I'm not saying religion. Okay, so those two things are different. There are phenomena that happen that we simply aren't able to explain all the time. we can't prove it, and we can't disprove it. It's in that liminal state. So the narcopath has a very rigid set of rules, okay? And this is when you start to get the discard tearing you down, the backstabbing, when you really, really get down to figuring out what the narcopath is doing to you, you will start to figure out that, or you'll start to see these things come unravel, because you're unraveling their world too. They have a very strict set of rules that either you follow or you're going to end up on the wrong side of the narcopath. This is why we don't fit with these folks really well in any meaningful way. We might fit for a while, and there might be some lessons to be learned, I don't know. But when I started to put together synchronicity, the liminality, and how does that apply to the narcopaths, it became perfectly clear why at the end, towards the end where the discard was about to happen, man, things came totally unglued. And there were some things that were happening around me at that time that I couldn't explain. I can't explain it today. So I'm not trying to preach God to you. I'm not saying that. Whether you believe or not is not part of this conversation. But what is part of the conversation is that there's phenomena that happen around us that I don't think it happens around the narcopath. I don't think that they are... Honestly, I think that they can misbehave themselves out of existence even, okay? I think that there are places that go, I think they could even just disintegrate if they had anything left of what appeared to be something other than a physical being. I think that that's very possible with some of these people. But for people like you and I, who, we are humans, we have some sort of how would I put this? Like a spectrum to ourselves that's more than just us. We don't think of just ourselves all the time. And some of you probably should think of yourselves more, by the way. But, that's another topic and video anyway. But I noticed that when things are going well, that this kind of a synchronicity just seems to happen. And like I said, a couple of guys I watch and who I respect very much have been talking about this, and it's something that you may want to look into as well. I don't know. It seems to me that the narcopath is such a disruptive spirit, if you will. Again, that's not talking about religion, but it is such a disruptive spirit that it gets in the way of not just conventional reality, but ultimate reality that we have. Sometimes we have some sense to look into, even if it's a little bit at a time. I remember one time with this one narcopath, God, she is just a nasty piece of work, who actually told me that she was jealous that I believed in something. I said, it's not a belief. These are experiences that I've had. Okay, just because you don't have it, they really don't believe in anything other than what they can see, hear, touch, taste, take, use. They don't think that there's anything else. Those of us that have even like a second voice, or the voice of our heart or our head, they don't have that. They don't care. This is what makes them so dangerous, is that they're living by a complete set of, it's just their rules are different than ours. And that's why we don't mesh well with them at all. Even if it is for a while, it's probably not real to begin with. But anyway, so back to, I'll wrap this subject up. I know it's been a while since I've made anything for you, and I promise you that if I decide to sign off, I will let you know. But check into how you feel when you're around them, how you experience the world when you're away from them, and I think that you're going to see things that are more than just the difference, but like off the scale from what you've experienced before. I think it means you're probably on the right path, and I know that it has, what am I trying to say? Things are so different now. Things are so completely different away from the narcopaths. It's like night and day. And it has convinced me of things that are obviously bigger that I cannot always explain. The right people will come into your life at the right time, but the narcopath is in there causing interference the entire time. Even if they're frauds, even if they're faking it, even if they're and they know it's not true, it still has an effect not on your physical being, but on your emotional being and your spiritual beings as well. And you just need to go no contact as soon as you can. I know that there are some of you who can't go no contact. Those down in the comment section, don't tell them to go no contact because they can't, for all the host of reasons I've told you all before. So anyway, there's a definite correlation between not being around narcopaths and having a healthy mental and spiritual life, as well as your physical as well. And this goes for the narcopaths that are in charge too. I think that we're entering a time, not in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but maybe the next 100 or 200 or 500 years, we're going to enter a time where they won't be able to exist. They will atrophy literally out of existence because of their rules. Their rules will disintegrate them. I'm 100% sure about this. If I've ever been sure about anything, I'm 100% sure about that. They cannot survive in what's about to happen. So there's a white pill for you for the day. So anyway, sorry it's been so long. I really do enjoy talking to you all. And I did this all in one take because I'm actually really busy today. And my business is getting really busy. But I had to come to you and tell you this, so that's a good thing. So he used to say that. And it's a good thing. He was at Martha Stewart, so I'm sorry. I'll have to come up with something else. Anyway, so, all right, listen, I'm glad to see you all. I hope you all are doing well. And I'm going to sign off, and I hope to see you all again real soon. Thank you.